Today, I'm gonna bring you along book shopping with me. A lot of new horror releases came out today, so I wanna look for some of those. I have 2 books specifically that I'm looking for, but also I just kind of wanna see what is new, if there's any other horror books that I can find and try to read this month. So I'm gonna bring you guys along and we will see what we can find. So off to Barnes & Noble. The first spot that I hit up is the new release section to see what has come out recently. All of these covers are so colorful. I'm very drawn to them. They had copies of one of my favorite books of the year, The Last Housewife. Y'all definitely need to read this. I also really liked they had a ton of bookseller recommendations. I spent a long time just reading all of these little cards and seeing what books they were recommending. This one was for The Paris Apartment. They had a recommendation for Project Hail Mary, which is a 5-star sci-fi book. I also recommend that. This book, Such Sharp Teeth, sounded really interesting. It's an adult horror about a woman who meets a werewolf. I also found this new cover for The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor Lavale, which I really liked this book. I didn't know that they had reprinted it as a hardcover. Spells for Forgetting, which I've heard is a fantasy murder mystery, which totally sounds up my alley. I was very tempted to get The Daughter of Dr. Moreau because I loved Mexican Gothic. Let me know, have y'all read this? Then I headed over to the new horror table and they had some really cool looking books. I'd never seen this one, Malice House by Shepard, but it says that it's for fans of The Babadook and Ninth House. They had Josh Mallerman's new book, Daphne, which I really want to read. Oh, and then I dropped this beautiful copy of Carmilla. Look how pretty that cover is. This new collection of Eric LaRocca stories I've read. Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke, and I really liked that. Ghost Eaters, which I'm very interested in. This is a book where I think people take drugs to see ghosts. I don't know, sounds cool. They had the new cover of A Dowry of Blood, which was my favorite book of last year. Look at that. There's a quote on the hardcover. It's so pretty. Then I went over to the YA section to find These Fleeting Shadows, but the only one that I could find was damaged, so I went on the hunt for other copies and I swapped it out for this one, which was better. Does anyone else do that? Then over to the horror section to see what they have. They had tons of Darcy Coates books, like a lot. She had almost an entire shelf. This might be shocking to people, but I have never read Stephen King. I kind of want to, but I am so overwhelmed by how many books he has, I don't even really know where to start. The 7 Visitations of Sydney Burgess, which I just recently read and loved. I have never read an Adam Neville book, but I've watched the movie adaptations for both of these books, No One Gets Out Alive and The Ritual, and I really loved the movies, so I think that it's time for me to read something from him. This one, called Last Days, sounded interesting. It says it's about a documentary maker and a cult. Then I was looking for Tender is the Flesh, and it said that they had it in stock, but it wasn't in the spot that it was supposed to be, but I ended up finding it over on this book talk table. Then they had more horror displays, a recommendation for Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke. But the last thing that I was looking for was an Edgar Allan Poe collection for a video that I'm doing, but I really want like a pretty collection. They had a few options here, but the one that I really wanted was this one. It's stunning, but it was like $25, which I just wasn't prepared to spend on this. And that was the end of my shopping trip. So I want to take a quick moment to talk about the sponsor of today's video, Ritual. Ritual is the obsessively researched multivitamin reimagining health from the ground up and takes the guesswork out of vitamins. They contain 9 high-quality nutrients from D3 to omega-3 that are difficult to get enough of every day. They are vegan-friendly, non-GMO, gluten-free, allergen-free, and contain no added sugar. Transparency is also at the core of everything that Ritual does, from the way nutrients are sourced to the environmental impact contract of materials used to ship thousands of orders. They also offer men's multivitamin, 50 plus, prenatal, postnatal, kids, and teen vitamins, and recently launched an essential protein range. Ritual makes it very convenient to build a lasting habit of taking essential vitamins. And right now, Ritual is offering my followers 20% off your first month by going to ritual.com/20RileyMarie and using the code 20RileyMarie. That will get you your 20% off offer. And thank you to Ritual for sponsoring this video. All right, I'm back home now from my shopping trip. I bought 3 books, but then I also met my mom for lunch and she brought me a bunch of packages, and I know that I have some really good books in these packages, so I'll open those up as well. But first I will show you what I got at Barnes & Noble. The first 2 books are ones that I went specifically to find. The first one is Tender is the Flesh, which is a horror book that I've heard is very, very disturbing. I believe that it is about the meat industry and slaughterhouses, but in the world of this book, humans are used as meat. So there's all these like meat factories of people. It says, working at the local processing plant, Marcos is in the business of slaughtering humans, though no one calls them that anymore. It sounds like it's gonna be so disturbing, but like, that's exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm excited to read this. I've heard great things about it. The other book that, again, I went there specifically to find was These Fleeting Shadows by Kate Alice Marshall, who is an author that I've read multiple books from before and I really, really loved them. And this is her new YA horror book. I don't know the plot at all, but she wrote 2 of my favorite horror books, so she's like an auto-buy author for me at this point. So this one is about a girl and her mother who left their ancestral home and never spoke about it again. And then her grandfather dies and leaves them everything. The house, the money, like all the inheritance, with only one rule, that they have to stay at the house for 1 full year. She uncovers the secrets of the house. Why is it built like a labyrinth? What is digging the holes that appear in the woods each night? And why does the house itself seem to be making her sick? It sounds really great. I am hoping to read this one this month as well. I kind of have made it a tradition to read a Kate Alice Marshall horror book every October, so I'm excited for that one. And then the other book that I bought is actually for a video that I'm doing, so I'm not going to talk too much about this book other than to let you know what it is. It is No Gods for Drowning by Haley Piper. But okay, like I said, I have all these packages here of books that I've purchased. I believe all of these are from Pango Books, which is kind of like where I get most of my books these days. And I think that they're all new horror releases. Oh, okay, wait, hold on. This one's not horror. I think the other's all horror. This one isn't. Spells for Forgetting by Adrian Young, who is an author that I've read at least 1 or 2 books from before. I've read her YA books, and this is an adult fantasy. It's an atmospheric story about ancestral magic, an unsolved murder, and a second chance at true love. So it has magic, it has a serial killer. I've heard it has like this cozy setting vibes. A lot of those are my buzzwords. So when I saw it, I decided to pick it up. Y'all can let me know if you've read this, if you liked it, what you thought of it. I honestly kind of bought it on a whim and I didn't look up any reviews for it, so it could have been a gamble. I don't know. Oh, okay, yes. This is another book I want to read this month. It is Dark Harvest by Norman Partridge. So this is a horror novella that takes place on Halloween. It says Halloween 1963. They call him the October Boy or Sawtooth Jack. Whatever the name, everybody in this small Midwestern town knows who he is and how he rises from the cornfields every Halloween, a bloody butcher knife in hand, and makes his way towards town. Does that not sound like the perfect Halloween book? And just like this cover, the vibes, I love it. I'm so excited to read this. The next one is It Rides a Pale Horse by Andy Marino, who is an author that I just read a book from. My last video was a reading vlog of his book, The 7 Visitations of Sydney Burgess, and I loved that book. Very excited. This is his new release. It just came out. Again, I bought it without even knowing what it's about since I loved his first book. The synopsis is like kind of ambiguous and vague, but it sounds like it's about this guy who meets this very, very wealthy woman and is invited to her home, and her house is like this huge estate with a gate and a security guard, and when he gets there, the guard plays him a live feed of the woman being abducted in real time. And he tells her that she's safe for now, but her well-being is entirely in his hands. He's given a book, do what the book says, and she will go free. Sounds really cool. I'm excited for this. And then the last book that I have here, Leech by Huron Inez. This is another new release horror book that has to do with like doctors and experiments. I think it's a gothic horror as well. And there's a parasite that is spreading. It sounds very, very creepy. So those were all of the books that I got today. Honestly, all of them fit into this like spooky theme I've got going. Perfect for October. So I hope you guys enjoyed coming along book shopping with me. I will see you in my next video. And don't forget to head over to ritual.com/20RileyMarie to get your 20% off discount of Ritual vitamins. Bye!